There is one big issue that I think I need to tell you before moving to South Korea. That's actually the housing. In Seoul specifically, housing is extremely difficult and expensive. And in Korean system, there's what we call deposits and monthly payments. And these terms, 전세, 월세, 보증금, are words that you will hear when you talk about renting, dorm, and owning an apartment. I mean, renting an apartment. So, for this episode, I'll be sharing with you some of the things you need to watch out, and probably based on my experience, what are the best options for you if you decide to move to South Korea and actually study here, work here, live here. And it really depends on, well, I mean, the basic and probably the most important factor that you have to consider with this is your finances, because that's the most important thing, and it will dictate what form of renting you'll be able to manage to do here in South Korea. So as you all know, South Korea is centered with Seoul, and a lot of people visit, lives in Seoul, and it's kind of crowded here in Seoul already. And if you visit some of the places, the provinces, the other big cities, I think Busan, Incheon are also big cities, but they are small. They're little compared to Seoul in terms of population. Hence, the difference in terms of amount of rent and then the value, like the amount you have to prepare for rent. So when I moved to South Korea back in 2021, since I'm under the Global Career Scholarship Program, we were assured to stay in the dormitory as part of the contract, the GKS contract. Upon arrival, we were given, I mean, assured slots in the dormitory. So for the dormitory, my first year at South Korea, we were staying in the dormitory since it's Corona season. The three person apartment room for dorm was actually reduced to two. So initially we have to stay. Three people should stay in one room, but since it was a Corona season, they opted to allow just two people inside, which is far the best option for me because I like staying, having my own space. So that's one good thing. And just to share, it is very small. Um, I think the space is actually good for one person if you are very much introverted. But since it's a dormitory and you cannot pay for single room since you don't have money, you have to endure living with other people, and that's okay. Because that's what the allowance permits you to do. So, I mean, you don't have a lot of flexibility if you're living off GKS allowance, to be honest. And I mean, a lot of people are asking, is GKS money enough? Blah, blah, blah. Is the allowance for students enough? I'll be making a separate video about it, although I made before, but I'll be updating it how much different and more difficult it is to live now with the scholarship allowance. But moving back to the apartment, the dormitory. So, as part of the Global Career Scholarship Program, you're allowed to stay in the dormitory or advised to stay in the dormitory just because for you to focus on learning the language. So, those who have topic 3, that's topic is a test of proficiency in Korean language. If you have topic 3 or above, you are allowed to live outside of the dormitory. But if you don't have topic score I mean, you cannot go out and live outside. This is because they want you to focus on studying. And I understand because, I mean, if you don't have topic 3 or above or the required topic level before going to your respective university, you will not be able to proceed as GKS scholar. Hence, you will be cancelled and you have to go back to your country. So that was the case. So GKS then they supported my allowance, supported my dormitory, and then for 1 year I stayed at the dorm at at Sunmoon University, my Korean language institute, and then after a year I moved to Hanyang University. Still stayed in the dormitory for a semester, and during my first 6 months, we were also given the plan of paying the dormitory once we arrive, once we receive our allowance. So that was okay. That was the initial agreement. But there were changes in terms of the payment scheme because the Korean students were actually complaining. And their complaint was the Korean students were required to pay semester whole amount of fee, and the GKS students were given one priority of the slots. Two, you were given the other scheme of paying every month, so which is quite unfair. So that's what they probably complained about, and I understood their side, but I have to explain and probably coordinate. They have to explain and coordinate on our side because we don't receive the money on a per semester basis. We received it on a monthly basis, so it was difficult for us to prepare a chunk of money just for us to live in a semester in the dormitory. So that's difficult for us. So when I moved to Hanyang University and moved to the dormitory, the setup was quite different. So it was post corona, for post pandemic. So at Sunway University, 2 people per room. At Hanyang University, same thing but smaller room. So 2 people per room but smaller um room size. Fortunately, my supposed roommate moved out. So what happened for a semester is that I was alone in the dormitory. I liked it. Since I'm alone, I can do everything I want. It's peaceful, it's so quiet. I enjoyed it. I was able to focus. Probably that helped me get my 4.0 GPA for Hanyang University, a 4.5 GPA for my MBA, but I mean I attribute that experience to how I was able to focus to studies and probably improve my health and everything. So I was there for a year. So for my first semester, no roommate, but the expenses were increasing. So this is what happened at Sunman University. There was a fixed cost, probably 350,000 Korean won. But when I moved to Hanyang University, they started with 350, but they eventually moved up by 10% each semester, which is weird and also very hard to manage. Like, why are you increasing the cost every semester? Our allowance are staying the same. That's our complaint. But it's like the rule of the dormitory. So we cannot really much complain because they give us priority in terms of the seating. They give us a different payment scheme. So we cannot really complain about the cost. So that's one thing. But so at Hanning University, they eventually changed to a per semester payment, which is a very difficult or pill to swallow for all of the students because, especially GKS, because we don't have that much money. And as I told you, GKS money is just enough for you to survive. So meaning each month you have to save at least 200, 300,000 Korean won just so you be able to pay for the dormitory. And that's very difficult. So everything happened like for one semester I was able to uh, stay alone in a two-person bedroom room, and then I decided to look for a cheaper alternative and then have an opportunity to be grouped with at least 4 people. So what happened was my first room at Hanning University is just a small studio type. Beds are there. There's no specific bedroom. It's just everything. When you enter the dorm, when you enter the room, everything is already open. But when I moved to my next dormitory, the one I requested for, the dormitory is structured to have bedroom separate from the study area, which is I liked. I liked that setup. The problem is that specific setup, we are 3 people inside. And if you're unlucky with the people that you're paired with, that is a problem. Which unfortunately, one of the person I was joined with for that specific semester was not really that good. He smoked outside and then brings like the smell of the smoke, the cigarette inside. He eats inside as well, never cleans the place, never cleans the bathroom, never cleans the living area, and never cleans the study area. So it's so hard to live with that kind of person. I tried my best to like regulate in terms of what should we do, the cleaning sessions and such, but it was so hard. Probably because I was on the graduate studies and there were undergraduate students, so they're not really much into like cleaning, preparing, and everything and such. But that is, excuses aside, they should have taken the role of cleaning and probably showed more become more responsible with their actions. But that's the thing. If you're moving to a dormitory here in South Korea, you cannot really choose unless you'll be going applying. No, no, no. Even if you apply with your friends, it's still like a random system. So it really depends on your luck. Probably you get a chance of living alone for in a two-person bedroom apartment, but if you're unlucky, you would be living with people that with the very much opposite sleep cycle and a different type of lifestyle. And that's what happened to me. But regardless of the result, I was able to enjoy my life. And then after that, so after I left the Sunman University dormitory, Hanyang University dormitory, I decided to live outside. So in my third house, it's a villa style, old style villa here in South Korea. And actually, the neighborhood is near Shinnimun. So the neighborhood is quite okay. I really like the quiet neighborhood, but it's very near to the subway station, also very nice. But you will be hearing the trains. So some people might think, oh, why are you living there? Can you sleep well? Actually, hearing the sound of the trains is actually relaxing for me. I was able to feel relaxed. And especially in the morning, if I hear the train going in, it's uh, my my alarm, my alarm clock that you have to wake up, probably start preparing and such. But yeah, that was the case. So in the Sunman University dormitory, I paid every month 350, 250, 300,000. And then at Hanyang University, I started with the monthly payment and then moved to a per semester payment. And for the dormitory, there's no deposit. There's no bujungum deposit. That's different when I moved outside and lived in a villa. Because now I have to pay a deposit and then I have to pay a monthly payment. So deposit is pujungum, monthly payment is wolse. Wol like monthly and then says like payment or every obligation. So it's like a monthly obligation. And that's the first example of how you live. The second example of how we live outside. First, a dormitory. Second is the living outside, which is the villa style apartment with bujugum and walse. But there is another different type of payment system that a lot of Europeans and probably those who are from rich family can afford to do. And that's, for example, if you remember, there's a deposit that you have to pay before paying the monthly payment for a villa style, right? But it's possible that you will increase the value of your deposit to a point that you will not be paying any monthly rent. That's possible in South Korea. So, for example, my deposit is 2 million Korean won, and then my monthly payment for the apartment is 300,000 Korean won. But if I paid probably, let's say, 150 million Korean won as deposit, it's possible that I don't have to pay that 3 million Korean won as monthly deposit. It could be reduced to at least 50 or 100 Korean won or 1 million Korean won or 50,000, 500,000 Korean won or even zero. It's possible. That's what they call chonse. So chonse is more of like a very big lump sum of payment that you will be paying upfront, and then you can live at the house, and then if the contract before the contract ends, the landlord has to pay you back the money. So it's like this, you allow, it's like rental, it's rental thing, like for example you lending it with the bank and then the bank uses the money, but if you decide to withdraw your money, the bank has to prepare the money and give to you. That's how it works also. But there are so many issues with the chonse system, the big lump sum deposit system, that some people failed to recover their money because, for example, the landlord bankrupts. For example, they bought some stocks and that's the stock price plunges and then everything happens and such. So that could be a case, and I mean, the money. I mean, laws are in place, but it's so hard to enforce, especially with like the current system or current economic condition here in South Korea. So yeah, those are examples of how you live in South Korea. Actually, there's also another one. Like my friend now, she's currently living in a shared house, wherein like there's a house mother that manages the house. For example, I there's a rich or like there's a auntie Atuma who has 4 bedroom house. What she can do is have each of the 3 houses rented by other people and then collect rent from them in exchange of the living per person have their assigned houses assigned rooms, and some of them actually prepares food. My friend is very lucky. She was able to find our shared house, and then the auntie, the Hajuma, actually prepares food for them. Rice, kimchi, sometimes it depends on what they ask or what she prepares for. But it's very nice culture. So they develop this kind of like they could eat together, like they could cook, they can do everything else like in the living area, but they have still have the privacy of their own respective rooms, which is actually I want to do, but like it's so hard to find that version for guys because usually it's easier for girls. Because I mean, let's be honest, girls are more inclined into like more clean in terms of their housing and living condition. They're more into like make ensuring that it's clean and presentable. That's another system, shared house system. There's also another one which is Koshiwon. Koshiwon, it has a very vibrant history actually, because during the older days, a lot of during the development of South Korea, I saw in one of the series they explained Koshiwon. During the development of South Korea, a lot of people from the provinces moved to the capital city to find fortune, but they cannot do the rental system, the monthly rental deposit and the monthly payment system. So they would live in a goshiwon. So during their lives at goshiwon, they have to pay small amounts of money, but the housing is very small. It's very small. I cannot really explain how small it is, but it's very small. It's very small and you cannot really you can barely move around. I mean, you won't be able to move around as much, and that's the thing. And then I think the story also with Goshiwon is like a lot of, for example, those who would be studying here in Seoul, but they are from the provinces, they cannot really find the dormitory, so the Goshiwon helped them. That's one thing. Goshiwons are really hard provide harsh condition, but they're the cheapest. So a lot of people opted to go there just to be able to save money. And thankfully, there were reforms in terms of the Goshiwon system and prevents a lot of isolation and such. But it's still Goshiwon is a preferred choice. It's a preferred form of living here in South Korea, especially with the convenience and price it provides a price point. It's very value for money as they see it. And I think that's the oh yeah, those are the examples of living conditions and dormitories and housing in South Korea. And in the first part of this video, I told you like it depends on the money, because it really depends on the money. If you have a lot of money, go for the chonse, the big lump sum deposit, and then choose a very good broker. But if you don't have a lot of money, same to my case, I have to pay deposit and then a monthly rental fee. And then if you're a student, opt for the dormitory. That's the best option. Like it really depends on your money, at the same time your lifestyle. I want to talk more about other lives here, about topics about other parts of life here in South Korea. And I hope you learned something from this video. And if you're interested of living here in South Korea and actually finding job here in South Korea, I'll be sharing some useful websites where you can look for jobs in English and the website in Korean. And till then, bye bye.